A lot of instructed teachers, guests, and participants of 11th Crises 2023. Now, I'd like to introduce you guys our judges today. The Chief Judge is Dr. Wan Muhammad Azim bin Wan Muhammad Zain from Pusat Pengurusan Kecemerlangan dan Inovasi Akademik, University Sultan Zainal Abidin UNIZA. The second judge is Mr. Raja Mohana, anak perempuan Raja Golpan from College Islam Sultan Alam Shah Kelang Selangor. And the third judge is Mr. Kelvin, anak Mikeng from SMS, Kuching Utara. And I am Shazwan from College Islam Sultan Alam Shah Kelang Selangor. While the timekeepers, Airil Aiman bin Muhammad Razif and Balkis Wasia Izara binti Zulkifli are from Sekolah Menengah Sains Sultan Mahmud, Terengganu. Now, let me read the rules. For the first rules is, each team should consist of presenters and a technical assistant. Second, the presentation must focus on the sub-team assigned to the team. The third one is, the duration of the presentation should not be more than 10 minutes. And the fourth, the bell will be rung once at the 9 minutes and twice at 10 minutes. A question and answer session will be conducted after each presentation. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite the first team from Sekolah DATO ABDUL to present. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think is the worst way to die? Now, some of you might say it's war, and others cancer. But personally, I think the worst way to die is from starvation. Starving to death is a long and arduous process that you need to endure before finally dying. And you'll be dying together with your family, your friends, and even your neighbors because they couldn't escape the grasp of famine. To relate, the Great Chinese Famine is the biggest recorded case of a man-made famine. 30 million people have died in between 1958 and 1961 due to starvation. This is a direct result of the government's mistakes in forcing an industrial revolution upon the nation. This demonstrates how much of an impact famine can have on humanity as a whole. But before we delve deeper, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I bid a pleasant day to fellow audience. My name is Muhammad Hafi. And my name is Adam Hakimi. We are from Sekolah Dato Abdul Razak and we'll be presenting about the solutions to famine and ways to mitigate its impact with the title From Crisis to Resilience, Navigating Famine Challenges. Now, in order to understand the topic of today, you must first understand the concept of food security. Food security is reliable access to enough food, ensuring that the food is safe to eat and making sure the food is nutritious enough for us to live on. According to the World Bank, there are 4 pillars of food security, which are accessibility, stability, availability, and utilization of food resources. If one of these 4 pillars are not met, then a food crisis will occur. The worst case scenario is famine. Moving on to our research background, famine this, famine that. What is a famine? Well, a famine is a situation where a substantial portion of the population are unable to access adequate food, resulting in widespread malnourishment and loss of life. According to the World Food Programme, these are 4 famine-prone countries, with our highlight being Madagascar, a country that is currently facing a food crisis. As you can see, there are 3 main issues that will be discussed. First, there is a high rate of malnourishment among the general population. Up to 60% of Malagasy children suffer from stunted growth and anemia. Now, what do they usually eat in their daily lives? It is not bananas, it is rice, just like ours. According to the USDA, Malaysia produces a whopping 4.8 metric tons of rice per hectare, whereas Madagascar only produces 2.8, which is clearly not enough. The result is that Madagascar needs to import $259 million worth of rice into their country every year. There are organizations, however, that are helping Madagascar by sending in food subsidies, such as the WFP, FAO, and USAID. But these organizations do not think about the long term and only help in the short term. The second issue is Madagascar's poor economy due to their over-dependence on vanilla as their main source of income. They export raw vanilla beans instead of vanilla extract, which has prevented them from obtaining their maximum value. As we can see, the price differences are staggeringly high. They are forced to export raw vanilla beans to the USA and France because they do not have the capacity to process them. And last, the local farmers of Madagascar use traditional farming methods that are inferior to modern methods, such as animal plows and hand planting. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, in 2023, Madagascar is still using wooden plows? How traditional is that? Isn't that sad, ladies and gentlemen? Now that we have a clear understanding regarding these issues in Madagascar, let us go back to our problem statement, which is famine is a terrible occurrence that happens due to a severe shortage of food that results in widespread suffering and death. Therefore, the purpose of our study was to identify the common factors of famines to be able to predict its occurrence, ultimately enabling us to provide effective solutions that can mitigate its impact. In our research, we have applied a qualitative research methodology, which includes meta-analysis and an interview. Here are some of the sources of our research. We have also conducted an interview with the former head of the board of directors of UPM, who is an expert in agriculture, DATO Sri Diraja Sai Razlan. Here is a small part of our transcript. Now, after all of our research, what have we found regarding this global issue, Hafiz? We have found that famine is primarily caused by 4 factors, which are human causes, such as political disputes and civil wars, climate change, natural disasters, and finally, diseases. But today, we are focusing on climate change, specifically drought, because according to Larry Flosson, half of the 10 worst famines in history were caused by several factors, but primarily drought. Now, what are droughts, you might ask? Well, a drought is a prolonged period of drier than normal conditions that can lead to water-related problems. As we can see, there is hardly any rain present in the middle months of Madagascar. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the FAO, 450 milliliters of rainfall per month is required to sustain agriculture. Madagascar only has 150 milliliters. This shows how hard Malagasy people have it to survive in the unforgiving climate. Ladies and gentlemen, water is an essential need for human survival. As the saying goes, you can survive 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. Here is the pie chart of global water usage. As you can see, according to Kerry Turner, 70% of water is used for agriculture, while 93% of it is consumed. How is that important, you might ask? Malagasy people with rice as their staple food need lots and lots of water for the cultivation of rice. But because their country lacks rainfall, this further contributes to their need to import food. In 2021, we can see that rice was the second most imported product in Madagascar. And in that same year, they were the 39th largest importer of rice in the whole world. Now that we know the problems that plague Madagascar, what are our recommendations regarding these issues? First, we need to improve the efficiency of their agriculture. One way of doing that is using artificial intelligence or AI. There are some ways AI can help. First, AI can predict the famine before it occurs. This way, the famine can be predicted and we can plant crops before the famine is occurring. Next. FuseNet. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, did you know that a way to monitor food security is already available on the world today? It is called the Famine Early Warning System Network, or FuseNet for short. Using artificial intelligence, which can predict famines, we can make FuseNet more efficient and faster. After we know where the flooding will occur, a water source needs to be identified. Drones, with the help of AI analysis, could be used to find oases and moist areas in dry locations. We also recommend using a drip irrigation system to water the crops. This way, water soaks directly into the roots without being wasted. And finally, based on our interview with Dr. Sri Razlan, we recommend an additional crop which could help with their diet, which is sorghum, a versatile, nutrient-packed grain. Sorghum is known to be drought resistant because its roots are long and can absorb water more efficiently. It is similar to wheat and can be used to make bread and porridge. However, we must also know that Madagascar is suffering from poor economic growth, which means that they are unable to implement these solutions independently. Therefore, these recommendations require government-to-government cooperation so that Madagascar can successfully overcome their challenges. To conclude, the problem of ending world hunger is very challenging, but not impossible. With the help of our generation, it can be done. By innovating on the ideas of our time, we can start to promote efficient farming methods that can lead to bountiful harvests. Therefore, we call upon our generation, which includes you and I, to be the solution that ends famines once and for all. And with that, we thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. Now, I would like to invite.
Okay. Thank you for the very informative presentations, Da. As we know that Madagascar is not famine right now, so is it valid for this case of study?
As we know, Madagascar is currently not facing famine, but they are currently facing a food crisis. Before, as Adam has stated earlier, organizations have helped Madagascar, such as the organizations WFP and USA. They have given food subsidies to help stop the famine, but they are not sustainable. So the recommendations that we have recommended is that we should improve the agriculture so that we can sustain them for the future. Thank you for the question.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. I am interested that you said that technology is one of the way to mitigate this issue. But in your opinion, personal or professional opinions, how can this third world country or less developed country able to invest in technology? Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. To answer this question, yes, the third world country are facing economic decline to handle this issue. However, they can cooperate with other countries that are already developed to help them invest in those technology.
Just a general comment. I'm very impressed that you did the meta-analysis. How many studies that you use to generate the meta-analysis?
We actually started with we were looking at other studies from Google Scholar, and then from those studies we branched out to organizations to know what type of support that they are giving to Madagascar and why they were giving support. I mean, how many? Yeah, ballpark. We started with, I think, 3 articles on Google Scholar, and then it branched out to a whole lot. Oh. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, The amount that citations and from Google Scholar that we use were more or less around the 15 to 10 mark. So to answer your question. Thank you very much. Now, for the second scene, I would like to invite Sekolah Menengah Sains Banting to present. So sorry. Can we can we wait for just 3 minutes? Now I will let them to present.
Thank you, moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, a very quick question. Are you more than aware of food insecurity around the world? Can you think of one country that is suffering from food insecurity? Well, I know most of you are probably thinking Syria or even Afghanistan. But have you thought about Pakistan? But before we dive into the topic, Assalamualaikum to the vice judges, accurate timekeeper, duty teams of Villa, and everyone present in this class. Representing Banting Science School, we'd like to talk about the second Sustainable Development Goal under a sub-theme, mitigating hunger crisis impact through food security, and our topic for today is hunger in Pakistan, overlooked reality. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is the goal of SDG 2? Now, the goal of SDG 2 is to end hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and promote a sustainable agriculture. The aim is to ensure that everyone everywhere has enough good quality food to lead a healthy lifestyle. Now moving on, our aim is simple. We'd like to have a look at what the government has and could have done. And second, we'd like to raise awareness of the dire situation Pakistan is facing. So moving on, what do we hope by the end of this, ladies and gentlemen? We hope that the people of Pakistan will no longer suffer as the recurring factors of food insecurity in the nation are battled with effective initiatives with the best arrangements. So next, what will we be talking about? So we'll be talking about two things. First, we'll be answering the question of why the issue in Pakistan is overlooked. And second, we'll be discussing about just how Pakistan is suffering from food insecurity under our three keywords: inadequate agricultural productivity, unstable political arrangement, and extreme weather disasters.
Guys, looks like connection has been acting up again, so I'm going to take control from here. I'm Ayman, your second presenter for today. Now, on to the research methodologies. Ladies and gentlemen, bear in mind that every single bit of information was obtained from these three sources: questionnaires, online research, and interview. Now, on to the questionnaires. As we can see from the statistics, the majority of the respondents are unaware about the dire situation in Pakistan, and only a handful of those have the slightest idea on how bad the problem is to the Pakistanis. We also ran an interview with the famous Pakistani influencer Golden Gali to help with our research. Next. From the data, we can see that although Pakistan's GHI has dropped significantly over the years, more efforts need to be taken to ensure that hunger crisis won't be the limiting factor to Pakistan's bright future. Now, we've come to the main topic of this presentation. Why is the issue overlooked? Reason number one is the increase of export. People in the audience might be wondering, how come that an increase of sale be detrimental to the economy? Well, for the record, the economic output of Pakistan reached an all-time high in 2022 with a total of $39 billion worth of export. This, however, created an illusion to the people who failed to see how much debt Pakistan has made. In the same year, Pakistan has imported $82 billion worth of goods, which caused an accumulation of $42 billion of debt, $3 billion more than what they have earned in the same time period. Reason number two is the lack of media coverage. Issues such as terrorist attacks, climate changes, and socio-political tensions are a mainstay in Pakistan. This has resulted in most mainstream news outlets and social media to report on the said issues rather than the growing hunger crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, the formula here is a very simple. Lack of coverage causes lack of awareness. So, my friend Jasmine is back online again, so I'll pass the baton to her.
So, ladies and gentlemen, starting again, let's look at the status quo. What is really happening in Pakistan? In Pakistan, 20% of its population aren't getting enough nutrients daily. Believe it or not, 20% equals to 40 million people. This is double the percentage of undernourished people in the whole world. And of course, this number also includes women and children. Next, the recent flood in 2022 has caused massive damage to Pakistan's inflation rate, as drastic as 27.6 to 38.0 in 2023. Now let's move on to our keywords. One of the main key factors Pakistan is facing food insecurity is inadequate agricultural productivity. Now, inadequate agricultural productivity is caused by two factors. First, loss during harvest as much as 40% are due to the inadequate food storage. Now, this greatly affects farmers. Their incomes are low due to the decreasing quality and quantity of food they produce. Next, most farmers tend to stick to the old ways of farming, which are more prone to failure. The losses they suffer are more due to the unawareness of new technology in the farming sector. So, ladies and gentlemen, moving on, when there's a problem, there is always a solution. So, what are the government's solution to this problem? So, first, the government has been investing in the development of agricultural infrastructure to improve access to markets. Next, the government has also been offering incentives to foreign investors who are willing to invest in Pakistan's agriculture sector, tax benefits, rent-free lands, and other subsidies. So in reaction to these efforts, the agriculture sector of Pakistan has been involved in 45% of the labor force and has managed to contribute 21% towards the gross domestic product in Pakistan, or in short, we can call it GDP. Next, significant progress made transitioning to a market-determined exchange rate has increased farmers' income generally. Now let's move on to our second keyword, unstable political arrangements, or in simple words, it's a power struggle from back in 2022 till here now in 2023. So ladies and gentlemen, the political unrest has helped help from the IMF and bilateral partners to increase economic development. Next, the country's lack of foreign reserves like gold has significantly hurt its capacity to import essential products. This has resulted into raised food costs and nationwide energy cuts. So ladies and gentlemen, the combined political and economic instability has reduced the household's power to purchase food and other essentials. Now, in response to this, the government of Pakistan has joined several regional agriculture trading blocs like ECO and BCIM to increase exports. Now, let's move on. What are the effects of said efforts, ladies and gentlemen? So, currently, more companies are contributing towards the exports of Pakistan, resulting to an increase of at least 21.4% towards the GDP in Pakistan. What? Well, I guess it's obvious that my battery is running real low. Ayman, you're the last man standing. Take it away.
Really, I'll be your knight in shining armor. Now, keyword number 3, extreme weather and disasters. From June to October 2022, Pakistan faced the deadliest and costliest floods in its entire history. Infrastructures and crop fields were swept away, causing $30 billion worth of losses. This predicament is made worse by the melting of glaciers in the northern parts of Pakistan, an alarming problem for a country with the highest concentration of mountain glaciers. The government of Pakistan has implemented several efforts in order to overcome the crisis. Number one is showing support for agricultural research and development. Multiple research institutes have been established and many incentives were given in order to create improved seeds and farming techniques. For example, PARC or Pakistan's Agricultural Research Council are one of many establishments that aim towards creating a sustainable source of food and income to the people of Pakistan. Now, efforts number two, irrigation reform. In modern times, Pakistan has come up with a new, more sustainable way to match its ever-changing natural landscape by the name of IBIS or Indus Basin Irrigation System. It is the largest contiguous irrigation network in the world. The advantage of having IBIS is that the parts of Pakistan can have sufficient water source, thus crop irrigation can be managed efficiently. Ladies and gentlemen, this has resulted in multiple positive outcomes from several aspects, such as higher production of livestock and plants, and the problems of pollution can be better, creating lesser benefits towards Pakistan's ecosystem. We also have conjured up our own ideas on what the government would have done more. Number one is global standard training. In order to enhance the quality and quantity of the crops, farmers must receive global standard trainings. This will enable them to acquire knowledge on innovative agriculture methodologies and abandon traditional practices. That way, the sustainability of Pakistan's agriculture sector will be guaranteed, creating higher job opportunity and a robust economy. Number two, transmitting lands into every region. This can be done by conducting a research on what types of soil is present in Pakistan and figuring out the factors that make a soil edible, such as pH level, organic composition, and its physical structure. Now, we've come to the conclusion of this entire presentation.
And to care is one of the reasons why we chose Pakistan. In fact, we know that Pakistan is a developing country, but it's clear as day that a lot of factors are definitely setting them back. Though some efforts were made and some improvements were seen, we've proved that Pakistan isn't seeing the light of the tunnel soon. So after days and days of efforts, we've concluded that there are more ways to solve this problem. By creating awareness through social media and such, we hope that the people of Pakistan will no longer suffer under food insecurity. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the fascinating presentation. Now, I would like to invite participants to ask questions.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. So in your slide just now, you mentioned the three sources of the problem, which is inadequate agriculture activity, unstable political situation, and extreme weather and disaster. So just a hypothetical question. If you were the leader of Pakistan, between these three, which one would be the first for you to solve?
So first, as a leader, in my opinion, I would first solve the unstable political arrangement in the country, because all it leads back is from the leader. What happens? You commit to the leader first, so that the leader makes decisions. So once the political unstable arrangements are solved, all problems can be solved slowly with the commitments of other leaders that is in the country.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, we heard you talking about what a country can do and things like that. So I want to bring down to the school level as future leaders. Okay, what can you do to help this issue?
Yes, students, we can
I'm sorry. As students, we can help by the simplest way. For example, the answer is in your hands, your phones specifically. Like we said in the conclusion, by creating awareness through social media. So, of course, as teenagers, you don't have much to do. But with the new modern way of technology, you have social media that can connect to the whole world. And of course, like we said just now, by creating awareness through social media, we can maybe, hopefully, contact to the government of Pakistan and maybe make some changes to improve the country.
Out of many countries in the world, why Pakistan?
We have also said that in our conclusion to help and to care, and also in our top. So Hungary, Pakistan overlooked reality. So like I might have said in the factors, why is the issue overlooked? We have proved that there are a lot of factors that makes Pakistan's problem being covered, and not many people actually realize it by the statistics we've shown. So we choose the country to make people aware of the actual hunger in Pakistan.
For the next team, I would like to invite Sekolah Menengah Sains TAPAH to present.
Have you ever stopped and considered how we continue to have food today? That brings us to the title of our presentation today, which is Food Stock Secure, the impact of government initiatives on food stock security, based on sub-theme mitigating the impacts of hunger crisis through food security.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good day to all the honorable judges, moderators, timekeeper, and rapporteur. Introducing to you the members of Pendeta from Sekolah Menengah Sains TAPAH. Starting out with our first presenter, Masya Alia. Next, me myself, Abu Adham, as the second presenter, also technical assistant. Our group leader and moderator, Amira Sofia. Last but not least, Muhammad Afiq, playing the role as journalist. Not forgetting Sir Muhammad Fitri bin Babu Hisham, our supervisor.
Let's get into the problem statement. Relation stop exporting to Malaysia or in the events of natural disasters. On. Malaysia's food. Our objectives is to delve into the government's initiatives to secure our food supply, analyzing how the government's actions affect the population, discuss how the citizens will support the government in addressing food insecurity.
Referring to World Health Organization (WHO), that there will be an increase in the number of hungry people between 2017 until 2022. For Malaysia graph, a slight decline, indicating that the government has taken aggressive measures to this problem. According to the World Health Organization, WHO estimated that there will be 600 million hungry people on the planet by year. Countries rely on import despite the access to surplus rice, fish, and grains. We must take action. To address this issue, we have collected data by using two methods, which is questionnaire and interview. According to the data we collected that consists of 28 respondents, most Malaysians are acquainted of the country's efforts to achieve food security. The majority of them, by 71.4%, are aware of the government's activities. This shows that the country has done enough efforts to combat hunger in our nation. Additionally, this data indicates that Malaysians by 53.6% have never experienced food shortage. This is demonstrated by the fact that Malaysia still relies on import of basic food to ensure that everyone has enough to eat. That's the sole reason why there is still food on our plate till this day. Besides that, we gather information on the citizen perception on how government initiatives genuinely benefit them. The response revealed that 55.7% of respondents concur that the government has achieved them in satisfying their empty stomachs. Other than that, the graph displayed to a question on the citizens' belief our country would certainly end hunger. Response revealed a diversity of opinion among the respondents. As you can see, 35.7% of the respondents have optimism and faith that our country would end hunger. But despite all the agreements, some of them doubt Malaysia's ability to end the world hunger. Interviews with Siti Wahida binti Ciani, the agriculture officer of Batang Padang and Mu'alim, greatly enhanced our study. This is evidence we have.
Why does our nation become dependent on others when those nations have the ability to stifle exports at any time? Have you wondered the day when our nation would attain the highest level of food security and declare zero hunger? Before moving on to the government's actions, may I ask the audience, how many of you are actually aware of what the government did to make sure there's still food on our plate till this day? Please raise your hand. Thank you for your response. Based on your awareness just now, we can conclude that food crisis is a serious topic that we should be focusing on and not just expecting our plate to be served. We are all the same. We acknowledge the government actions to achieve food security, but do we know the scene behind the food production on our plate that we eat every day? All we do is sit, eat, and complain. Now, let us open your eyes towards what the government did to make sure that every one of us has enough healthy food on the table. To begin with, we will share with you 4 government initiatives, which is education, incentives, technology, and policy.
First, let's get through the education aspect. The government will provide farmer training session in this context. For instance, the Federal Agriculture Marketing Authority (FAMA) sponsors a number of initiatives to inform farmers about the value of crops. This includes the Maha programs that can help farmers learn about how to cultivate crops, a good time to harvest, and many other topics. Next initiative is incentive. In 2023 budget, the government allocated 1.6 billion ringgit to farmers in Malaysia. The focus is on emphasizing the significance of paddy source, which includes the price of rice, fertilizers, and upland rice.
Furthermore, the government invests in the Agro-West Initiative. What exactly is it? It is the program that provides assistance to farmers who are going to grow crops, including fertilizer, land, and human resource assistance, which can help farmers maintain consistency in agricultural operations. In addition, an investment of 200 million ringgit by Khazanah National Berhad under the Impact Fund will be provided to increase the income and productivity of smallholders.
Another factor that the government is considering is technology. It is called urban farming, where the crops are stacked in layers that are vertically to save space. It has become viral on the social media world, and it also can boost the production of food. This includes the hydroponic system that can create an urban farm.
Moreover, the investment is culture tissue, which uses biological plant cells to continue growing until it produces fruits. The technique involves removing a sample of the tissue platelets when it is put in an agar-growth medium that contains nutrients and auxins. The seedlings will be inserted into the composition.
Another factor that we highlight is the policy. Council Huri Yassin presented a strategy that can maintain food security, particularly 50 strategies and 96 initiatives. The goal is to increase the internet resources, private sector participation, population involvement in the food system. This plan can guarantee the availability of food that is safe and healthy itself, which has the effect of ensuring the readiness of the nation in the face of food security crisis.
So, after learning about the government's program and its effects, we will discuss the changes we suggest to guarantee the security of the food supply, which involves the government and the community.
The government has to come out with a technology that can lessen out the production cost when it comes to agriculture. This is what has
Malaysian citizens to raise the awareness of the need to develop our own food production. For example, one small farm a house with the slogan of one earth, one family, one farm. Proven inside and you can do a community farm where they can
crisis is very threatening, and this is what happening to the other side of the world. And I'm afraid it will come to us if we didn't take any action. That's all from us. Thank you.
So I would like to invite participants to ask questions. Okay. Ada mic kan? I guess you all understand the effectivity of your solution and initiatives. But my question here is, don't you think that all of your solutions and initiatives actually cost a lot for the government to fund the whole countries in terms of bringing up new technology, using urban farmings? So my question here, how is the government supposed to find money to fund for all of these solutions in the long period, long term?
To answer your
question, to get money is the government's job to get the money. So we can find other many initiatives on how we get the money, especially on the subsidy, taxes, subsidy and taxes. So it is the government job to find the money. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Is it still morning? Yeah. Good morning to you. Yeah. Okay. 15 minutes. Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Okay. I'm very interested with your 1F program. So have you started this in your school? Because in school, all of you all are like one family. Have you started it in school?
Actually, just yesterday, right? At Sunday, our school did Gotong Royong Madani, and they collected RM1 every student to plant for every batch plant one tree. So yes, our school already started. Thank you.
In your presentation, you mentioned about 1F, one family, one farm. So I have a question. How about the families that doesn't have the enough condition to make a farm? For example, like living in apartments or the one who doesn't have enough income to produce a farm of their own.
Okay. To answer your question, like our presenters present just now, another solution is hydroponic vertical farming. So for a family that doesn't have enough space in their house or in their house area, we can do vertical farming. In fact, vertical farming are already it's already started in our house. It's just that Malaysia government is trying to take the trying to apply the initiative to Malaysia. So in Malaysia, some Malaysians have started vertical farming, but not all of them. You can see only minority of them started vertical farming. Vertical farming mostly are mostly applied in rural areas. Okay, thank you. That's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Sekolah Menengah Sains TAPAH. For the next team, I would like to invite SMN One PURWOREJO Indonesia to present.
Hello everyone. Now I'd like to present our discussion about independent agriculture. First, let me introduce our team members. Vanessa Anastasia and Lydia Kiva Fiesta as the presenter, and Khalila Miza Alam as technical assistant, Akila Fatarulaya as the presenter, and our professor teacher Sigma Hanani. So, what is food crisis? Food is one of the basic needs for the human being all over the world. However, it faces a serious crisis today. It's referred to circumstances when a community does not have sufficient food to sustain themselves or their children, which can lead to a high rate of malnutrition. It is continuously happen if it can inhibit children's future development. Children withering from stunting may never grow to their full height or develop to their full cognitive potential. This is the data. From 2018 to 2023, countries with food crisis increasing from 53 until 58. The amount of hungry people is 112 until 258, increasing 228%. With research, we have identified the causes and the impact of the food crisis and provide possible solution of this problem. Most cases of the food crisis are from geographic aspects such as land and climate change. In some parts of the world, there are also this impact on the crisis. Some economic aspects such as economic instability, inflation, as a food access for many people. Even if it is available, it's too expensive for many people. Moreover, the world also faces a population growth, face an unbalance of the food. After analyzing data from many sources, we can conclude that the root of the problem is crisis among the families. So we have identified that each family has strong food supply. The global community can be free from the food crisis. So how to create a strong food supply for each family? We offer an independent agriculture as a solution. So what's an independent agriculture? It's an act to plant independently at home by utilizing available land, equipment, and media. We shouldn't rely on the government help or others. We shouldn't rely on the help of the government and others Therefore, by doing independent agriculture, people outgrow the needs. People outgrow to hope the needs to fulfill their independently needs. Then, on the other hand, it can help the government grow in overcoming the food crisis. So, independent agriculture can be done by the following activities. First, growing tissue-culture plants. Tissue-culture is a technique in which whole tissue are extracted from living matter or organism. Therefore, the new plantless and plants are more likely to be free from viruses and disease. And it can be solve the problem with the virulence and climate change. Second is integrated farming. This farming is integrating livestock, crop production, fish, poultry, and trees. They are integrated in one farm and used to raise to support other farming activities by implementing long and diverse crop rotation. Third is hydroponic. It's a crop system that makes plants grow in the nutrition-rich water solution. This can be beneficial for people who live in cities with limited land. That brings us to the end of presentation. To summarize, we have three independent agriculture as an activity for agriculture, which can be used as a solution. By growing the tissue-culture plants, we can solve the problem with barren lands and the climate change. By integrated farming, we have the food supply so that we don't have worried that much if something can happen. Then we have the hydroponics. With the hydroponics, we can still plant on the limited lands.
Let's plan. Let's plan the future and be the part of the solution. We are Team One, propose an independent recruiter for a project for each family in the world. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for the informative presentation. Now I would like to invite anyone to ask the questions.
Hello. Good morning. I have a question regarding your integrated farming. How well is integrated farming in Indonesia? Is it positively received by the farmers and the community, or is still in the novice stage? Okay. Bisa? Okay, sila.
Jadi itu kan
integrated farming has been used in Indonesia. It's like if we have some chicken, we should produce it for the next generation, and it shouldn't. It can make one effective. This is public. Gimana? Visual. Bisa. Hah? Different competition. It can make a long different cooperation, and it can stop in one generation.
Thank you. Yeah. We not use the agricultural plants, but we use hydroponic in our school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, for the next team, I would like to invite Sekolah Menengah Sains Alam Shah to present. The United Nations has indicated that Southeast Asia is facing through major hunger crisis, and it is an impossible problem to be solved. However, it is a problem that can be mitigated across our status quo. But then the question that all of you might ask us is, how do you acquire food security for Southeast Asians? Our team has one of the most obvious sources, but yet it is being supported by most Southeast Asians. And that is what has led us to the topic today, addressing Southeast Asia's hunger crisis via combating food waste. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day I bid to all members of the hall today. My name is Zikri Zufari, and I'm going to be the first presenter to present today's presentation here today. So without further ado, let's get into my first content here, which is the definition of world hunger crisis according to the United Nations. They refer to it as a situation where a significant portion of a population does not have access to enough food to meet their basic nutritional needs. We see that the three main impacts of the hunger crisis is that millions and millions of children are experiencing stunted growth and wasting amongst them. That means our future generation is currently endangered. Next, they also expect that 600 million will go hungry by the year 2030, which means mortality rate will rise just by today, 2023. It's not far. And last but not least, most shocking fact of all, 1 in 3 people struggle from moderate to severe food insecurity. And it could even be one of us right in front of you. But I'm not going to point fingers, because I want to carry on to this presentation with the concept of food security, which is our mitigation mechanism here today. You see, food security has 4 main dimensions, being first, availability of the food, preparedness of food options for diverse preferences and requirements to fulfill an individual's basic nutritional needs. Next, accessibility of the food. What is the point of you having food in the grocery stores, retail stores, but it is unaffordable by the public? This is where we need to ensure accessibility. Afterwards, utilization of the food. Is the food actually being sent out to those who are in need, to those who have food insecurity, or is it simply being discarded away? That is our topic for today. And last but not least, stability. Balance and consistency is the key to assure food security in an individual, because if there isn't, then everything here crumbles. Now, I've given to you the brief summary of what food security is. Let's have a look at the real life problems where food insecurity happens. We see major global events such as wars and conflicts are causing the major Asia. Next, bad economy due to inflation causing food prices to rise, and some individuals in Southeast Asia have to cut their budget to even buy bread, and not to mention those in poverty. Next, afterwards, policies that the government has made to actually combat the problem of food waste. And we acknowledge there is, but The question is it working and effective? We tell you no, because food waste is still on the rise in Southeast Asia and something has to be done. And last but not least, climate change such as global warming is deteriorating all aspects here, causing food insecurity to Southeast Asians. Now I've given to you this summary of food security and food insecurity. Let's move on to my two clarification of terms that may cause confusion throughout this presentation, which is food loss and food waste. You see, food loss is the food that you have that's suffering through issues during the production, storage, distribution, or even the processing phase. Let's say we have a farm of apples and we decide to harvest all the apples. You will find yourself that not all apples are actually safe for human consumption. Rather, there will be like around 15% of apples that will suffer through diseases or even infested with pests or bugs or whatever. So this is food loss that is caused by natural causes. Whereas food waste is our topic here today, is that food that is completely safe and fit for human consumption, yet it's being discarded and thrown away as if it is nothing. And this is the problem that is still on rise in Southeast Asia that we want to address here today. Now, last but not least, as the first presenter, I'm going to give you the clarification on the stakeholders' engagement in the food supply chain. So first question, where does the food come from? The food comes from farms, and this is the first phase, production itself. Later on to be harvested and brought into the second phase of the factories to be processed into food products. And later on to be distributed by distribution companies to the third phase, which is food market that consists of grocery stores, retail stores, and even restaurants. And last but not least, us, the customers that will be spending money to buy the food for our own consumption. You see, the problem is, according to our in data, is that the production rate of food is greater than the amount of consumption rate. And this causes the production of excess food. Now, don't get me wrong, excess food is not wrong. But the problem is we're not handling it properly, and therefore it's going to waste in Southeast Asia. And this is what we want to address here. Now, to give you a better visualization, I would like to pass it over to my second presenter here, Sir Idahab. Hi, my name is Adam, and today let me paint a picture for you regarding the situation that's happening in Southeast Asia about food waste. Now, imagine the amount of food waste generated in Southeast Asia, and that is represented by grains of rice stacked on top of each other, and this grain of rice will reach into outer space, and even reaching Mars, Saturn, and even Pluto itself, and just a bit more. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 50 billion kilograms of food every year. But what about other regions? Well, to answer that question, we have conducted a survey with three objectives in mind. The first one is to assess the global perception of food waste as a problem, then gain insights from various stakeholders in the food market worldwide, and last but not least, to understand the different types and amounts of food waste in various regions. Now, these are the questions that we ask. The first one is, how problematic is food waste and what role are you in the food market? Then describe the food waste that occurs in your area. And last but not least is, what are your actions and experience on this issue? Now, we have received 50 respondents from these countries that are marked in red dots, and we have cherry-picked two of the best respondents. The first one is Sophie from the US and Anonymous from Norway. The first question we asked them is, describe the food waste in your area, and Sophie answered that her college campus serves food that not many students really like, and this causes a problem for the staff to manage the leftovers on everyone's plate. Then the second question is, what are your actions? And the Norwegian answered that I try to feed them, talking about their children, smaller portions and freeze all the leftovers for future consumption. And the last question we asked is, anything else to add? And Sophie added, people that are socio-economically stable tend to waste more food. Now, based on these 50 respondents' answers and our own researches, we have concluded 4 main solutions that will be tackled upon by Mr. Elias. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Idam. So, before that, acknowledge that there are nations that have been using this solution. First, we are going to implement this solution internationally, right? Let's move on to our first solution here today. Understand that food distribution, where Malaysian Food Waste Agency called What Waste, where they have made their own initiative to actually take this food from people, right? And they take this edible food waste from people and distribute fairly to people. And first, in conclusion, 1,026 kilograms of food have been rescued. Secondly, more than 60 food packs are being served, and last but not least, 15,000 needy families are being fed. Secondly, let's talk about recycle, right? Understand that food waste can be used to generate eco-friendly electricity through that aerobic digestion. Also, imagine compiling food waste in a container, right? And these microorganisms in food waste produces methane, and which acts as a biofuel to be burned in the turbine and produces electricity. Thirdly, let's talk about laws and legislation, right? The Massachusetts food waste ban doesn't allow the production of more than 1 ton of food waste per week to be simply thrown away. Understand that if you're a company who produces more than 1 ton of food waste per week, you are to be to look for any alternative to compose your own food without using any landfills. Secondly, the Fireable Emergent Good Samaritan food donation are edible. Understand that if you are a donor, the total price of the foods donated monthly or yearly is directly proportional to the given tax rebate or tax exemptions. Last but not least, speaking of which is one of the most simplest yet impactful, changing the people's mindset. Understand that the Smarter Lunchroom Movement, which is a program that is hosted by the government of California, which encourages students to eat healthier food and in turn decreases food waste. Understand that if you this solution means that if you these people are providing a portion of food that is good for their students by not wasting food, such this food is also a healthy food. Last but not least, understand that social media is very influential. So people could host campaigns, and also we as a community in social media can take or partake in these campaigns and spread awareness among people. The final question here today: why it matters? Southeast Asia being ranked as the second region with the most amount of food waste, but yet it is being unsolved until to this day. It is a simple problem, but it is being solved. However, with the recommendations and solutions that we give you today, if we can practice what other nations have been doing, we can actually handle, utilize, and actually assess the problem of excess food properly. Rather for it to be discarded into trash bins, it actually reaches to those who are in food insecurity. Thus, we are able to actually combat the problem of hunger crisis. But yet, it cannot just be government's efforts. It also has to be our efforts as well, because we are also factors of food waste. And that is why I say that we are also necessary pawns on the battlefield. And that is why we finally say, from pawns to keepers. Thank you very much for listening. Any questions here? Three, two, one. Earlier on in your slides, you pointed out about how distribution is a key factor to things like food distribution, right? Here's the thing. Things like corporate actors and state actors, for example, Nestle, that actively drives up prices for profits, and state governments that actively use food supplies in order to force subservience, how exactly do you tackle these actors to essentially achieve your goal? Please tell me. Earlier you mentioned about however, understand that like corporation and government, for example, SK that actively drives up prices in order to profit, or state governments that actively against their people for subservience, how exactly do you tackle those factors? So we acknowledge that some companies actually do have this sense of selfishness to actually prioritize their profit for the business rather than environment itself. But that is why we need actually government intervention right here. With the laws and policy making that we have, we can ensure that environment factors, environment preservance is actually being the main prioritization of all companies, and especially for their own nation itself. And that is why we show examples of you, such as the Massachusetts waste ban. If we can impose something like this for even Southeast Asian countries, we can actually even combat the problem of these companies prioritizing on the factor of they using it for their advantage, right? Now, with that, firstly, we can actually preserve the environment, and also, not to mention, assessing food waste right there, right? We can take this food waste and distribute to those we need. As the law is currently like fining or charging you with many other, punishments or whatever. Yeah. So with this thing, it encourages people to not go against the law, rather to find another initiative to actually get rid of this excess food. Not through wasting, but we have many initiatives as donations, non-profitable organizations that we have, such as we've given WAW. Right. I hope that answers your question. Is there any other question? Judges.
Okay, I'm interested in your recycling plethora. I want to share. Malaysia produce 30,000 tons of waste every year. and only 5% they recycle. And by 2025, the government aims to increase 40% recycling rate, which is less than 2 years now. But in your opinion, it can be hypothetically, right? Why the recycling rate in Malaysia and other Southeast Asia countries still low? Yes.
All right, very good question asked by our fellow chief educator right here. All right, so the answer to this is that you see, countries in Southeast Asia, the majority are still in the developing stage. These are why some countries are called developing nations right here. Countries such as Singapore, we tell you just now, have the technology and the industry to actually recycle this food for composting purposes, right? So if we can actually initiate those diplomatic relations, organize collaborations between non-governmental organizations, non-profitable organizations, we can actually achieve this